Witam serdecznie, zapraszam na drugą część dokumentu na temat śledztwa w Wielkiej Brytanii dotyczącego odnalezienia 39 ciał w naczepie ciężarówki. Kwestia do powiedzenia, ponieważ tam w pierwszej części używałam słowa w tłumaczeniu przyczepa, natomiast jest to nieprawidłowe użycie, gdyż tak naprawdę była to naczepa, nie przyczepa. Jak wiadomo, przyczepa to jest całe z kółkami, które się przyczepia, natomiast naczepa to jest coś, co się nakłada na tą podstawę. Tu w tej drugiej części dokument bardziej skupia się na rozpracowywaniu szajki, gangu, organizacji, która stała za tym nielegalnym przewozem imigrantów. Tam jest takie dosyć skakanie z wątka do wątku innego, dlatego ja tak pokrótce opowiem, na czym ta organizacja polegała, kto wchodził w skład. Otóż był sobie pewien facet, który mieszkał w Irlandii Północnej. On się nazywa Ronan Hughes i on sobie właśnie wymyślił, że założy firmę transportową. I teraz są dwie prawdopodobne wersje, które nie są określone jednoznacznie w dokumencie. Pierwsza wersja wydarzeń jest taka, że moim zdaniem prawdopodobna, że ten Ronan Hughes po prostu chciał założyć firmę transportową, to go kręciło, chciał mieć własny biznes, kupił ciężarówki i podczas prowadzenia biznesu zapoznał kogoś, czy ktoś mu podsunął pomysł, że jest to dobre narzędzie, te ciężarówki, do przeszmuglowania narkotyków, i taką też decyzję podjął, żeby się tym też zająć. I tym samym już stał się podejrzanym, bo policja gdzieś tam już zaczęła na jego trop, w związku z tym jakby na jego trop wpadła. I druga wersja wydarzeń, że Ronan Hughes już od początku był zamieszany w to szmuglowanie narkotyków i po prostu tak sobie wymyślił sam bądź ze wspólnikiem, od którego brał narkotyki, kupował, że te ciężarówki, ten biznes będzie taką przykrywką do tego rzeczywistego procederu, jakim była właśnie te szmuglowanie, przewożenie narkotyków. A teraz druga postać, George Mika, który z pochodzenia Rumun, który pojechał w świat, w inną część Europy, Francja, Belgia, te rejony, kręcąc sobie różne interesy mniej legalne i jak to każdy biznesmen, każda osoba z taką intuicją przedsiębiorczości potrafi wyszukać, zauważyć potrzeby rynku. Jedną z takich potrzeb rynku jest właśnie potrzeba osób, które są w dramatycznej, w ciężkiej sytuacji, które chcą się wyrwać z własnego kraju, gdzie muszą klepać biedę, nie mają szans żadnych na wyjście z tej biedy i po prostu w rozpaczliwy sposób próbują dostać się do innych krajów, które mogłyby dać im szansę, a po prostu nie mogą tego zrobić w legalny sposób, ponieważ prawo jest takie, a nie inne i nie pozwala im właśnie na taki swobodny, legalny przejazd do innego państwa. I tutaj właśnie Mika, który jest na bakier z prawem, nie przejmuje się niczym takim, a wręcz upatruje szansę w tego typu działalności nielegalnej, żeby zarobić jak najwięcej pieniędzy i wykorzystuje tą dramatyczną potrzebę, sytuację tych biednych ludzi i wymyśla sobie sposób, że on będzie organizował przejazdy właśnie tych imigrantów, Wietnamczyków w tym przypadku, do Wielkiej Brytanii. I w pewnym momencie drogi Ronana i George'a się krzyżują, poznają się, postanawiają dobić targu, że tutaj Nika będzie zajmował się organizacją ludzi na terenie Francji, żeby ich zorganizować, żeby pobrać pieniądze od nich, od rodzin ich. Natomiast tutaj Ronan Hughes będzie użyczał swoich samochodów, ciężarówek. I właśnie taka bardzo ważna kwestia, jeśli chodzi o ten biznes, to oni zdawali sobie sprawę, że jest pełno monitoringu i oni nie mogą pozwolić sobie na to, żeby ktokolwiek zauważył, czy żeby to zostało też zarejestrowane na kamerach z monitoringu. Moment, kiedy właśnie imigranci wchodzą do tej naczepy, do tej ciężarówki Dlatego też to jest też pokazane właśnie na tym dokumencie, jak oni tak wymyślili to, w jaki sposób obejść te kamery, żeby to nie było widać. Także zobaczycie, jest to taki dosyć jasny sposób przedstawiony. Także jeśli macie jeszcze jakieś pytania, coś tam jest niejasne, bo jeszcze trzecia część będzie, tam się już w ogóle wszystko wyjaśni. Także pozdrawiam i zapraszam do oglądania.
Detectives are still trying to get to the bottom of what Maurice Robinson did in the 23 minutes between discovering the bodies and calling an ambulance, and who he may have called from his discarded phone.
So, we know that you drove round because you were in a panic, you said, and then you called ambulance from your phone?
Yeah.
Did you call anyone else?
My boss.
And what's your boss's name?
Ronan Hughes.
So Ronan may be able to tell us what the plans were.
Maybe.
Didn't ring or speak to anyone else at all?
No.
People seem to think that when they take a SIM card out of a mobile phone that's it. You see on the movies they take the SIM cards out or they break the phone, but you can recover a lot of data.
Call data obtained from the telephone number of the SIM card confirmed that Robinson did call his boss, Ronan Hughes. But it also reveals he called another number. That number is traced to Tilbury, another port up the coast from Purfleet. The data not only reveals the shop where the phone was topped up, but the exact moment when the transaction took place.
The CCTV image was just perfect. He walked under the camera. We were able to put a face to the person topped up the phone, who's the person who had conversations at the time the bodies were first discovered with Robinson.
With evidence mounting, Robinson decides to change tack.
At this stage, my client, Mr. Robinson, will be exercising his right to silence.
Okay. We know the call to ambulance running at 1:36.
No comment.
How did you phone ambulance?
No comment.
Did you phone it through your mobile phone?
No comment.
Okay. Or did you use the mobile phone that you broke up?
No comment.
What was you thinking in that cab?
No comment.
Did you go straight back to the cab?
No comment.
Or did you run off?
No comment.
Just try and help us here to understand. Is it a case that you sat there in the cab thinking, what am I going to do?
Can I speak to the solicitor for?
Yes, of course you can.
Of course you can, yeah. We'll stop the interview.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a continuation of the interview that stopped for consultation.
My client and I have been in consultation and those are prepared to take.
Okay.
I, Maurice Robinson, date of birth 9th of September 1994, will say as follows. I was made aware that the trailer I had to collect had people inside. I was told where to drop off the people. After collecting the trailer, I wanted to make sure that the people inside were comfortable. So I stopped on Eastern Avenue, about 5 to 6 minutes drive. I opened the back door of the trailer, expecting to see people alive, but I saw a group of bodies on the floor. I was in a state of panic and did not know what to do, so I drove around for several minutes in a state of shock. I called an ambulance and waited for them to arrive. I'm absolutely devastated for the poor people who have died and their families. I'm very concerned for the safety of my family and myself if the organisers find out what has happened since my arrest.
That admission from Robinson suggests he's part of a larger organised criminal gang.
This wasn't just a random crime, you know, to gather 39 people from a different country and to bring them in on a container. It takes some considerable organisation.
Detectives suspect that gang includes the unknown man in the shop and Robinson's boss, Ronan Hughes.
We are continuing to appeal for information into the whereabouts of 40-year-old Ronan Hughes. Ronan, hand yourselves in to the police service of Northern Ireland.
We discovered that Ronan Hughes had a haulage company in Northern Ireland. It's a very different policing landscape over there. Hugely different communities, hugely different areas of risk.
Despite the police appeal, Ronan Hughes is on the run. Essex police turn to their Northern Irish counterparts for help. And it turns out, Hughes is already in their sights.
I had an investigation into the importation of Class A drugs, cocaine and heroin, into Northern Ireland. I knew that heavy goods vehicles were being used to facilitate that smuggling. And I immediately recognised that lorry as being part of the investigation. And it became apparent that the lorry had been sold on some months before to Ronan Hughes. We started to get a picture very quickly about Ronan Hughes. He had a small haulage business based along the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. He was hiding his smuggling activities by doing legitimate work. And all he wanted was that legitimate load so that he could cover his movements, so that he could smuggle whatever it happened to be that he was smuggling. I became absolutely obsessed with catching Hughes.
Armed with the latest intelligence, officers go looking for Hughes.
We had got the exact address of his transport company, where we believed he was at the time. We had our search warrant, we had our grounds to arrest Ronan Hughes. We raced down to this business address associated to Ronan Hughes, but unfortunately it was a post box attached to a tree. I was standing there in the middle of the night staring at a post box attached to a tree. The post box itself was the address of his haulage company. He wasn't there, obviously, and he was had made good his escape across the border, where we legally couldn't put hands on him.
Several Vietnamese families have told the BBC they fear their relatives could be among the 39 people found dead in a refrigerated lorry in Essex. One of them is 26-year-old Pham Cha Mi.
When you go through someone's mobile phone, you're really taking a window into their life. You can really start to get the sense of a person and some of their dreams and aspirations. You read in the press and you talk about, you know, it's migrants, it's these terms that, you know, almost dehumanise people. And then you see just someone's ordinary pictures and messages to one another. You know, you see that and it's, you know, that'll stay with you.
Họ cùng bản thân của ta mình mấy đứa con gái như mấy đứa có chồng cả đây. Cha lại khác. Sáng nghỉ rồi. Nguyện vọng của mẹ là rửa bố. Vì mẹ là nguyện vọng em ở nhà để em lấy chồng. Chứ nói lừa mẹ là con đi coi về thì con chưa lấy được chồng mà 30 tuổi con mới lấy được chồng. Thì con mới hạnh phúc chứ mà lấy sớm là con chưa lấy được chồng. Em cùng đi cùng bình thường thôi. Vẫn bình thường, vẫn chào bố mẹ bình thường. Nguyện vọng của em là đi vài năm nữa về là Việt Nam sang Trung Quốc ở 10 ngày. Thì từ Trung Quốc sang Pháp thì cũng 1 ngày 2 ngày chứ. Nhanh mà. Cái đi máy bay là rằng chứ nhanh mà. Mà đi điện về an toàn là có vấn đề gì không? Đến nơi rồi mình mới chuyển. Tổng đi nạp cho họ từ đấy sang đến bên Pháp là 22.000 đô, cũng 550 nữa. Chơi đi thôi chứ mình cũng có biết đi xe, đi tàu hoặc đi đâu mà chỉ biết được. Chỉ nói đi VIP là cùng nghe đi VIP chứ còn để mình cũng biết đi VIP là đi răng của mình mà răng mới biết được. Thì dư mới biết là VIP là đi rửa tế chứ rửa tình mới biết mà răng biết.
With Robinson refusing to comment further in interview, the trailer that carried the migrants into the UK becomes the focus of the investigation. Analysis of shipping records shows that it was dropped off at the Belgian port of Zeebrugge the night before the bodies were discovered.
We knew the trailer had come unaccompanied from Belgium. We need to know who that driver was who dropped off the trailer at Zeebrugge port. The CCTV from the port showed a blue cabbed lorry bringing a white trailer in. Although we couldn't see who the driver was, we could clearly follow this lorry making its way through Zeebrugge port to the parking area, and then we had that cab, that blue cab, leaving Zeebrugge port.
At 3:52 p.m, the trailer with its cargo of 39 people is loaded onto the ferry. The driver of the cab is identified as 23-year-old Eamon Harrison, also from Northern Ireland. He joins Ronan Hughes and the unknown man from the shop as the investigation's main suspects. And a Europe-wide search is launched for all three.
By the 7th of November, the coroner had agreed all 39 identifications for us. And to be in a position where we were then able to contact the families and confirm to them that sadly their loved one had been formally identified, you know, it's a relief. Because ultimately that's all the families wanted, was to know for sure and to have their loved ones home with them.
"29 men, 8 women, and 2 15-year-old boys are officially confirmed dead.
The story of 39 victims, it is not the beginning. It is the continuation of the Vietnamese leaving their home country. More than 500,000 Vietnamese people, they died on the open sea. I, myself, also a refugee, and escaped from Vietnam in 1983, also on the boat. No one wants to live, but you have to go to help your family.
For decades, that migration of people has proved lucrative for smugglers. Today, the business is controlled by a global network of criminal gangs, which is what Essex police think they are dealing with. And at its heart, the unknown man that Robinson called after he found the bodies.
So the first thing we tried to do was to see if we had an image of this gentleman within kind of our own kind of policing computers. One of the analysts actually ran some facial recognition, but on this occasion, because of the angle of the CCTV, we just didn't get any hits back.
The image is then sent to intelligence teams across the UK. And within 2 days, an email is received.
They uncovered the name of Romanian national George Nica. I could kind of feel my pulse going. He was another haulier who had quite a fierce reputation within the industry. He was potentially that link between people who run the facilitations on the continent and the drivers that they're utilising to get into the UK. George Nica certainly had some kind of footprint in Europe, and he was obviously kind of part of the bigger picture.
Nica's involvement suggests a Europe-wide operation. Tracking his movements reveals he flew into Romania the day the 39 victims were discovered. And like the other suspects, is out of reach in Europe. Building the case to extradite them is hampered by the lack of hard evidence, so a forensic eye is turned on Harrison's lorry.
I knew that it had a GPS tracker on it, and from that I was able to show quite a detailed route of where he went. Harrison appeared to have made a lengthy journey to a place called Bienne in France, where he stopped for a short period of time.
We were able to share the data with the French investigators, and they identified an industrial estate where the lorry had gone to.
The day before the victims were discovered in the UK, a convoy of 3 black taxis is seen turning into the industrial estate in Bienne. Moments later, Harrison's lorry follows. It parks up next to a farmhouse, and 8 minutes later, drives off again. Detectives suspect that during those 8 minutes, the Vietnamese got out of the taxis and onto the truck. But with no images, they can't prove it. Then, they have a stroke of luck.
Cette journée a débuté comme toutes les autres. Je suis auxiliaire de vie. Quand je suis arrivée, la dame m'a fait part qu'un camion était passé. Je me suis dit, c'est bizarre. On se trouve dans un petit chemin de campagne. On ne voit jamais personne passer. De là est arrivé un Mercedes Vito de couleur grise, donc avec l'enseigne taxi dessus. Et de ce véhicule est descendu 9 personnes qui ont traversé la rue en courant pour venir se réfugier dans la grange. Alors ils étaient cachés là et ils faisaient comme ça, comme s'ils attendaient quelqu'un. Donc cette patiente me dit, bah, regarde, le camion est de retour. Un camion blanc frigorifique. On a vu une porte arrière s'ouvrir, donc les gens se sont précipités dedans. Le camion est reparti, même pas 5 minutes après, le taxi est arrivé.